Hey, welcome to TOX and TONICS, Straight Talk with Jason, a modern guy just navigating life, health, business, and love in Canada. We're my podcast has just become this fun little thing, and it's kind of going the modern dating, modern connecting, finding love kind of thing. That seems to be the theme these days. Today, we have some panelists that are going to share their adventures in the dating world today, and you know what? We're going to do a round of introductions. But before we do that, there's just some simple rules, right? There are no rules. You can swear. We can drink. All the stuff. So, you know what? I want your honest opinion. And this is why it's called Straight Talk, right? And so we're going to start off with right here, right to my right. Please tell us about yourself, your situation status.
Situationship?
Yeah. Situationship status.
Nisha.
Okay.
I am 37, originally from New Brunswick. Been in Alberta for about 12 years now. I am a dental hygienist by trade. I am single, divorced, and have a 9-year-old amazing boy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Sergio.
Hi guys, my name's Sergio. Been in Calgary since 2002. 43 years old. I make video games for a living. Recently, divorced over a year ago. Married for 15 years. So single right now. So just trying to figure stuff out.
And Shauna over
I'm
there.
Shauna.
Hey, Shauna.
I'm a born and raised Calgarian. I'm 45. I run a large medical practice in Calgary, and I'm doing my master's degree full-time right now. So dating is interesting, interspersed in all of that. I divorced about 7 years ago, had a long-term relationship in there, but otherwise dating and learning a ton. I call it drinking from a fire hose.
Drinking from a fire hose?
Yeah.
Girl.
Okay. And
I'm Cheryl.
Yeah.
I am 46. And no jokes aside, I have a beautiful little, I can't say little, he's taller than me. He's going to be 15.
Okay.
And I work in healthcare, and I also work in skin health. So I've been in Calgary now for 15 years, but born and raised Edmontonian. Go Oilers. And I love what I do. I love helping people. I love educating, and most importantly, I am divorced ×2, and I can speak about my experiences with a lot of oomph.
Beautiful. Well, welcome all of you guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to start off with this, right? We've had some great conversations, some fun stories that you guys have shared with me. But I'm going to start off with this, okay? Since it is a modern dating kind of thing. There's this quote that I found online, and if you guys know me, I love putting up quotes on my social media, and it's basically from where I'm feeling. So this is one that I saw. Dating in this generation sucks. You're not allowed to care too much, because if you do, you'll end up getting hurt. You should not expect long-term relationships, because if you do, they'll ghost you. Love became so undervalued. Trust is too risky. Commitment is scary, and fake love is normalized. It's sad. So, give that, ponder that a little bit. And someone's listening. I don't know who else is listening here. I know, Sergio's watching the hockey game behind you. Right?
I'm paying attention.
You're paying attention?
I got two eyes.
Yeah. So, do you want to start, Sergio? Or here she is. She's raising her hand up. Okay, it hooks close to home.
Well,
Okay.
just the whole concept that you put your heart out there in the world, and you're trying to find love for second, third, fourth, fifth time in your life, and at the end of the day, you don't know where it's going to land. It's kind of like fly fishing.
Yep.
What are you going to catch? Is it going to be a boot? Is it going to be a tin can, or is it going to be a man? Is that man going to be a real man?
A real man. So what defines a real man for you?
Well, I think someone who's going to be like stand up, articulate, and like hold value. And what do they bring to the relationship? Not just what I bring to the relationship.
What do you mean by value, though?
Well, I'd like someone who could compete with me, like in sense of like articulation, like intelligence,
Yeah.
and
So I have an analogy.
Yes, absolutely.
So dating in my 20s felt like jumping rope.
Exactly.
Simple. And I could find someone fairly easily to come in and jump rope with me, and we could figure out cadence because life was easy. But in my 40s, everyone's double dutching. And now you trying to double dutch with somebody else, and you've got grief from divorce or a relationship ending, you've got financial stuff, you've got job stuff, you've got kid stuff, you've got healing stuff, you've got all this stuff, and trying to match the cadence of 4 ropes to actually go at the same pace and find a person who can go at your pace is actually very tough when you're layering in being authentic and having shared beliefs and values and finding someone who's compassionate and kind and honest with you.
But that is the most beautiful analogy I've heard.
So double dutching. We're double dutching. Yeah.
So just to go back to that, Sergio was asking what kind of value, and I'm finding out that high value is not necessarily your net worth. Is what it is.
It's what do you bring to the table?
What do you bring to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily monetary value, but
exactly.
I guess personal value.
The whole portfolio.
Yeah.
The portfolio. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table?
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking because we've shared our ages here, right? I'm 48.
Very, very vulnerable ages.
Yeah, very vulnerable ages, right? We have some kids.
We all do.
We've been married.
Mm-hmm.
Long-term relationships in our definitions, whatever how many years that may be. And I have to be honest. COVID put me for a run, right? And here I am trying to, run a business and, take care of my family. And, we couldn't do any, as a business, I'm in aesthetics, right? And that wasn't an essential service.
Nope.
Right? So we invested just before 2020 to expand the business because we were going on a great projection rate. And you know what? The stress of that, just saying, oh gosh, how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to pay our mortgage? How are we going to pay all this stuff like that? I was lost.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't share that with my partner.
And that's hard. I could relate to that because I worked in criminal law.
Yeah.
I gave up my career in healthcare to support my ex-husband, who's a fantastic criminal lawyer here. And he's brilliant. He was doing a dual PhD of law and computer engineering, designing AI. I call him, he's designing Skynet. If anyone can reference Terminator, he's building like RoboCop, that type of AI programming.
Sergio, Skynet. Yes. He's a gamer. So I went right there too. I was like, hey, tech. I love tech.
So my ex-husband, I can relate to him being Sheldon Cooper in a lovely way. We're great friends. I was Penny. I was more of the business sense and like the normal person, like just the layman's, but I was still quite smart. And the joke was at the end of the day, it's like we had outgrown each other after so many years. COVID hit and his law firm took such a financial hit. I just said, hey, I have a healthcare background. I don't need to support you, but I'll support myself and you could figure yourself out.
Yeah.
And I will not take from you. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be cruel. But let's take all the emotion out of our divorce or separation, everything. And let's be better humans towards each other because this is where we need to be. And it was tough navigating, moving forward and dating in life, but we have become such amazing humans towards each other, such supportive friends.
Yep.
That's where we've reconnected, 13 years later, great friends. And that's I think what is important. And it comes back around years later, but it takes a long time.
13 years later?
It does.
Well, and I think you both hit on something.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about going back to double dutching, then you add in COVID. Have you dated somebody in the past few years that didn't get their ass kicked by COVID somehow?
Every person
lost people they love, or lost a business, or lost a job, or had to pivot, or lost a relationship, or all of it.
Yeah.
And so there's everything that came before COVID, which was already complex and hard in your 40s. And then COVID just jacked it up a bunch.
100%.
And so when you talk to people, they're hurting.
Yep.
They're still rebuilding. And so if we have this checklist that's superficial, going back to, I think, something that's sort of been swirling on the internet, like, what is your job title? How much money do you make a year?
Yes,
Those
yes,
kinds
yes.
of things.
Yeah.
That stuff is, COVID showed us how fleeting that was.
Sounds like a
And
date at
how-
merchants.
Sounds like what?
A date at merchants.
But that's so superficial now. So when you talk about value, you're looking for someone who, I don't care if you lost it all. I actually don't. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what your job title is.
Yeah.
If you're rebuilding and you're tenacious and you have goals, that tells me a lot about your character.
Mhm.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
I'm looking for the fire.
Yeah. But that's a layer in modern dating that is new if you're out there right now, that you're needing to engage with people and create space to have those conversations and make it safe for people to share, like, I'm rebuilding. Because that's a scary thing to tell somebody when you want a second date with them.
But you want to share your authenticity
Yes.
and be vulnerable.
Well, most people do.
Most people do. Most normal people do. But
Yeah.
not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah.
Well, how? Okay, so you said the first date. So let's check this out. If you consider a first date, and you meet someone, let's say we'll use the apps as an example, right?
Let's back to the app.
We use the apps.
Thank you, AI.
Right.
You're a shitty algorithm that was produced by a 12-year-old
Wow.
in India.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so but we've all done it. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done it. And because when I was married, right, you're like watching everybody else out there going, on these apps, and you're like, oh shoot, that seems kind of fun. And they like just kind of went, hey, okay, I'm speaking from the male perspective then.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's a
It's like,
totally
hey,
different beast between women and men.
Exactly.
It's a totally different
Yeah.
experience.
So for guys, it's like, hey, well, you know what? Then I can go shopping now, right? But it's really hard for guys on these apps.
How's that grocery list going?
What's that?
How's the grocery
The
list?
grocery list? Gosh, you know what? I've quit it. I've quit using the apps, right? Because it's just
I do too.
what's that?
That's what I do too.
It's just when I was using it initially, I was finding, I was talking about this. I think I've talked to you about this, and if in management, it's like it's now like an HR thing, right? 30, 60, 90-day rule, right?
CV, psych evaluation, criminal records check, resume.
Yeah.
Letter, cover letter,
Blood tests.
blood tests,
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Did you say references?
and references.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right? So we're up to 7 things.
But the funny thing is, because of the internet, we can all do that stuff now.
It's called dynamic
If you-
research.
If you've ever been present on the
Patels
internet,
have it dialed in. The Patels have it dialed in.
the Patels,
Meet the Patels. Biodata
okay,
has everything in there. You're good.
meet the Patels.
Meet the Patels.
Biodata.
That's a great Netflix show. Just watch
Okay,
it.
I haven't seen
But
that one.
they do biodatas and they do Patel dating like events.
Yeah.
Like speed dating. That's
Okay.
what they do.
So, okay, apps.
But
So
based
we've
on
used the apps.
biomarkers?
Your first date.
Biodata.
How long should it be?
Oh,
As
I
long as
have
it
a
needs
rule.
to be, as long as you want it to be.
Really?
You have to rule. Yeah.
How long
Really?
can I tolerate you?
I want it to be 15 minutes.
Really?
15.
Yeah.
So you're kind of speed dating.
Exactly.
Interesting.
That's all you
Yeah.
can tolerate
Why?
me for is for 15 minutes?
Why 15
Absolutely.
minutes?
Well, there's the door.
No.
Well, no, there's something out there that's I don't know if you guys have read the book 3 T's.
I have, yes.
Right. The 3 T's. Basically, you take, you drink, and if you like a person or if you're meeting someone, if you drink 3 full teas with them and have a conversation with them, right, then you will know everything you need to know about that person.
Mhm.
And it's either with business or in a relationship, or if you want to be intimate with them, and we can add alcohol to that if you are a drinker, right? So, but at the same time, it's the amount of time to finish that. So that's where I say it's 15 minutes. It's probably if we're not connecting, we're not doing anything like within the first 15 minutes.
Mm.
But if I have 3 teas with you, then hey, you know what? I want to know more about you.
3
Mhm.
teas. So
3
cups
teas.
of tea.
3 cups
Yeah.
of tea.
3
What do you
drinks.
say? 15 minutes, 14 minutes in, you're like, okay, we're getting 15 minutes. I'm not feeling this. What do you say?
Was that? Well, you know what? This is great. Thank you very much. I will say
My SOS is calling me, so it's
Yeah.
my iPhone. It's
exactly.
Like,
You have an excuse. You have an excuse to leave.
So I do it if I've met the person before, then
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable just hanging out for whatever. But if I've never met the person before, I have an hour rule. Now I'm like, fuck
1
man.
hour.
And my
Jeez,
friends were like,
1
you only do an
hour.
hour for the
Oh.
first date. I was like, if I've never met the guy, I don't think about him because I'm like, and I've been there. I've been on the Hinge date where I'm like, 20 minutes in, I'm like, this fucking sucks. I'm like, I'll be a bitch if I leave now. And I'm like, so I do an hour. And then I'm like, so, hey, we're hanging out. I'll talk about it before. I'm like, hey, so yeah, he's like, do you want to hang out this time? I'm like, yeah, sure. But I have commitments after. I can hang out we're meeting at 7. Cool, I have plans at 8. And then I will not go back on it. I could go for the first hour and I'm like, damn, I'm feeling this guy. But I'm not going to be like, oh, well, my plan's canceled.
Geez,
so I can
no.
stay longer. I'll be like, I got to peace out. And then come sick of it.
This is
27 minutes was my worst
27 minutes.
first date, and I was texting my stylist Harold, so timeless Gonzalez. He's my stylist downtown, and I love him to bits, and he's my SOS boy. He's amazing. And I said, dude has spray on hair,
Whoa. What do you mean spray on hair?
like fucking
spray
chia
on
pet
hair.
hair. The
Yeah.
dude had chia pet hair.
I wouldn't know about that.
He showed up. He's like, he was Venezuelan and Pakistani, and he had showed up and he's like, yes, I used to be a former like Harvard baseball player. I'm like all this. He had photos on his site or his page or his profile that were dated 15 years prior to.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up looking quite dated and tried to like, you don't live in my neighborhood. You're not qualified to live in. You're not qualified to be dating someone of my stature. And I looked at him like,
He said that to you?
yeah. I'm like, I've
Wow.
owned a law firm. I'm very successful. I'm very good at what I do. I don't need a man to support me. But here's the deal: your spray on hair and your toupee can go find yourself back in Turkey, man. Like go
back to Harvard Community College.
Just go.
Oh, wait a minute.
And-
They do great. They do great.
He had spray on hair, man.
transplants.
He
They
didn't
do-
even have a hair transplant
Yeah.
at that point.
So
He
go
had
to
spray on
Turkey.
it.
You're right. You're
I'm
right.
like,
Go to Turkey. Go to
And then
Turkey.
he was judging me. He's like, because he asked me what car I drove, and so I'm being a dick. And I went, and we're in Aspen Landing. So if you know Calgary,
Yeah.
Aspen Landing's a bougie little neighborhood.
Yeah.
I picked up, and this is the year we had the worst hailstorm. I picked the dented, worst, ugliest Honda Civic in the parking lot. I'm like, you do not need to know what I drive. You
Yep,
don't need to know my
absolutely.
net worth. You do not need to know anything about me at this point. You are facetious, condescending jerk.
How did you end up on a date with him?
I have no idea. My
15-year-old pictures. That's
Listen,
all.
the first time I'm dating again at like 42,
Yeah.
my standards were a little low.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I went back to my car. He saw me walk to my car, and then he texted me the next day, you drive a really nice custom like 5 Series. I'm like, I know what I drive, but why were you stalking me? He's like, why did you lie about the car? You should come over to my house. Like, no. You know what you need to do? You need to revamp your profile because your profile does not match who you are. You need to have photos of the last 6 months of you.
So
That's
okay,
fraud.
you're onto something. So
there's some catfishing.
So
as opposed
I
to-
I
I
got
had-
catfish.
You're a catfish.
Yeah, that- yeah.
wow. Okay,
Wow.
so I have actually never had a bad first date ever.
Hmm.
I've had really cool conversations with people that I might not want to date again,
Yeah.
but it's been totally worth my time to like meet someone new.
Yeah.
But one of the things I always ask a guy on my first date with him is like, it's some version of like, tell me about your experience on the apps. Because everybody comes and the thing you have in common is how much you hate the apps.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
okay, so tell me about your experience. Why do you hate it? Like, why is it so bad? Same answer 100%
Every time.
of the time from a guy. She never looks like her pictures. So what percent of the time doesn't somebody look like their pictures? 90%, they say. So that has actually never happened to me. Anyone I've ever gone out with is exactly what I expect and looks exactly like I expect. So knock on wood, I've actually had good luck. But every
Well, because
guy I've ever
guys
been out
don't
with,
use filters.
well, that's just it. That's
That's the
actually
thing.
what they're saying is she's
They
filtered
don't.
beyond belief, or they're 10 years old and there's no full body shot.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
okay, so tell me what that sound means. Like, do you agree with that? Does that disgust you? Like, what do you?
To say like the guy, there's no full body shot. Yeah, that kind of. by Hinge, I have 0 full body shots. It's fucking tits up.
Well, there we go.
Let's go.
Hey. So how many? So you get the 1,000 Hinge likes.
Yeah.
Right. So because every guy that's on there is like, oh, big tits.
See, I have a full body shot because I want you to know what you're like.
Yeah.
I don't want to show up to date and have somebody say, "Ooh, you're not what I expected."
But I guess I've never really thought to put a full. Not because I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna only show my fucking tits.
What is that?
But it's been like, it's just I've never thought to, because I'm like, interesting.
There's a book by one of the creators of Hinge called "How Not to Die Alone." I can't remember what her name is, so I can't give her credit here, but it's called How Not to Die Alone. And she talks about essentially how to use online dating apps and how to use Hinge.
Okay.
And one of the things she says is it's really important. You should have a black and white photo of yourself, and you should have a full body shot of yourself. You should have makeupless. You should have yourself doing the activities that you should be telling a story with your photos so that people get a good sense of you, so that you don't create dissonance with people.
But didn't Hinge buy all the apps now?
Oh, probably.
All the dating apps?
Yeah,
They bought all the
did.
dating apps.
No,
Yeah.
Match did. So
What's
there
that? Or was it
Oh,
Match?
was it Match?
Yeah.
Tinder, Match, Plenty of Fish. I forget all the other ones.
Yeah.
But they're all owned by the same
But
company.
they're all owned by the
Maybe
same
it's-
company. So their advice, their job there is to do sales too.
Well,
So
and they
they're
want
gonna
to create
educate people on it.
matches,
Yeah.
I think, as well.
Right. So so that profile thing. So there's dating coaches online, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Anna being one of them,
Yeah.
right? The Hitch YYC gal.
Is
And
that Anna or
yeah,
Anna
Anna
Ahmed.
Ahmed.
Yeah.
who we met?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a dating coach?
Yeah. Well, what does she call herself? She calls herself connector of, I don't know, a connector of high value people, I guess, is what she does. Through her events, through all those different things. Easy there.
Easy
I know
there,
what you're thinking.
I know.
Easy, right? So, in her defense, right, she's trying to bring high value people together, right? So through her
Just
events,
like you did tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So high value people together, right? There we go. High value, exactly.
There you go.
There you go. Ooh, cheers. There you go. Cheers. Cheers, buddy.
So I guess I have a question for guys versus girls when it comes to when you're saying this girl said to put a full body photo, put a black and white. So when I first got on Hinge, so I was married for 9 years, divorced. Started dating this guy for a year and a half. That fucking failed.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, so I'm gonna try. Everyone's like, try online dating. Like, so I went on there. But my first thought wasn't like, I was like, I sat there and I'm like, I need to like scroll through pictures, maybe some security thing of pictures I felt like actually look really good to post.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I put a picture of me in my sweats eating out of a fucking tube of ice cream, because I have those, but I'm not gonna share those. But I'm like, is that gonna gain a like, or is that gonna get me a date, or is that gonna be guys gonna be like, well, she's ugly, she's gross. So I feel like maybe it's an insecurity thing for myself that I'm like, I looked at my pictures. I was like, hey, these are like the 5 or whatever I can select to put online. Kind of for guys, you guys don't use filters, but when you guys chose pictures to put on, did you just fucking like bam, 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 or did you?
No, we followed the licking ice cream thing too. Apparently,
No, I read into it like a true programmer was like, okay, what's the science behind it?
Yeah.
What does the study say? What does Reddit say?
Yeah.
Okay, these are the kind of stories that you want to tell. I was like, okay, so me doing stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I went.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to show what
What I like to
interests you.
do for fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're creating a conversation. You're
Yeah.
getting somebody in to connect with you.
Yeah. But how do you show that as as someone that spars in MMA? Like, is that going to be attractive to girls? You think?
I don't know.
The
I
right
think
girl.
so.
That's
The
why
right
you
I
girl.
think
said
so. Right.
earlier.
The bad ones? I don't
What's
know.
that? Fuck. You know what? Take your shirt off.
that?
Go in the ring, fight,
Yeah.
spar.
Yeah. That's
Do
You
you
know?
do
That's
Brazilian
a full
Jiu-Jitsu?
thing.
You with like Arashi Do?
No. I'm with
Gracie?
Elite.
You're with Lee?
Elite, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we used to train together
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah. He's pointing to our our
see this
producer
scar?
here. Yeah.
This one right here.
Well, I used to do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Rashido? Or
Arashi Do.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Ninjas in the room.
Mhm.
How'd you like it?
Ninjas.
Loved it. My son can kick my ass any day of the week, but yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
I was his training partner for.
Okay, was it one of those? Oh, let me just try this one move on your mom, and then
Yeah,
That's usually what happens.
Yep.
I'll do it on my kids all the time. I'm like, I learned this one
I
thing
have to
today.
be his sparring practice partner because no one else wanted to be his partner. So I'm like, take one for the team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
So we're talking about telling a story on the apps.
But
Yeah.
it's hard to tell a story. And I got called out the other day because someone was looking at my Facebook and they're like, "Oh, you're the tea connoisseur." And like, you're
The
stalking me. I'm
tea
like,
connoisseur?
So what? Sorry.
so tea connoisseur.
Because you have a
Tea
tea
is in
profile? You have
I
a tea
drink.
picture?
I
Okay.
love tea. So
You'd have 3 teas with Jason.
We've had some teas.
we've
Yeah.
had tequilas.
Yeah, tequila.
That's the better tea.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
the
absolutely.
best.
Yeah.
So is that what
Absolutely.
gets you to 16 minutes?
Yeah.
Hey, listen. Chia Pet didn't get past 27 minutes. So that was
Chia
hard.
Pet.
And he showed up 7 minutes late.
You showed up 7 minutes late.
7 minutes late.
There
But
you go.
you know
See?
what? I've had some really, like, I've had a long-term ex-boyfriend after my divorce, second divorce. And the hard part is that we had such a beautiful relationship until I realized that he was unhappy. And I could feel that unhappiness. And I felt so hard for him because I don't think I could accept it because I thought I'd be the one to fix him. That's where we can't fix people.
You can't fix people. It's like, can lead a horse to water, but you can't have them drink it.
And that's the change that happened
the
is that,
change that
right?
happens.
Like, you have to do the therapy to, like, get yourself better and, like, choose yourself first and, like, be healthier and then be happy with yourself first and everything else falls into
I think that's why I got off Hinge because I'm like, what am I gating?
Attracting, right?
Am I gating for a guy to tell me I'm pretty, a guy to tell me I'm hot or I'm successful or whatever, or go on a date and just to have that security or fulfillment? Then I was just like, but at the end of the day, after the dates, I had to go home and I'm like, I'm sad.
But Nisha, you're beautiful and you could give that to, you could
Absolutely.
tell yourself that every day.
But then,
sometimes-
by that point, it's like I was on these dates to get that validation because I
We all
didn't
do
get
it.
it.
We all
Especially
do it.
with my ex-boyfriend, I didn't get that validation because it was abusive, it was narcissistic, it was just you're a piece of shit, you're this, whatever. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah.
But then I think I went on for validation, and I wasn't looking for anything.
No, but
So
that's
I got off it,
that's
and I was
fair.
like, and I healed.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I found myself, and it. And you know what? Maybe actually, I can't say healed because I don't know what defines if you're fully healed or not healed, right?
No,
It's
healing,
a journey, not a
the
It's
healing
still learning.
state. The healing state is a journey.
then I was like-
it's continuing.
I don't need dating apps to validate who I am. I was like, and if I meet a guy, and it happens, it happens. If not, then it's not my time, and it's a journey, right? So
it's absolutely
Yeah.
a journey. And I've had so many people who are like, you're amazing, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, you know what? But I'm good and I'm whole and I'm safe and I'm myself again. I'm not with someone. I'm capable of being independent. I don't need someone. Someone compliments my life. That's fantastic. But it's all about what do you compliment? I don't need you to be my man. I need you to compliment me. What do you bring to the table now? Because I bring a shit ton to the table. I'm independent. I'm successful. I'm very articulate. I can communicate when I have hard feelings, right? So when I'm hurt,
Mhm.
I can say my words,
Mhm.
not lose my shit. But I don't need to have someone there. I don't need a placeholder.
you don't need someone to tell you I'm successful. You're like, oh fuck, I know I'm successful, right? You don't need someone to tell you that.
No, but I don't need a placeholder in life. I need a partner.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be my ride or die bitch? Because it's gonna
Or
be that.
you end up with flowers in the garden.
Oh, flowers in the garden. Oh,
Way to go, Nisha.
we're
Way to
going
go.
there.
Sis,
We're going
you
there.
read me. You read me
Okay,
like a
we're
book.
going there. All right. Cheryl, tell us
How's
about
my
the flowers in the garden. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to go back this way.
Let's
Tell
hear
us.
about your
No,
flowers
no,
in the
no.
garden.
Let's go. Like, so, you had a little story about meeting someone on Hinge.
Oh my god. Okay.
Share this with us, please.
Is it because you forget it for the first
I've
15 fucking times I told you?
absolutely,
Oh.
absolutely, yes.
He's got ADHD. He's a squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
It wasn't
the
recorded
last
yet.
couple of
Wait,
times, I got you out was because of the hockey game. What's the score?
Yeah, there's nothing but you. I can't.
Yeah.
I need glasses. I have glasses.
I really can't read the score.
Okay. Anyways,
Well,
so
go Oilers.
I decided to go online dating. After like I was like, okay, let's fucking do it. My coworker was like, fucking do it. I'm like, okay, we'll do it. So I met this guy and like we kind of connected, and I was like, hey, I was like, okay, cool. Like I think I'll give this guy a chance. I sent him my number, and we're texting and stuff. And I went to work, and I told the girls, yes, I think I'm gonna go on a date with this guy. She's like, oh, okay. So what does he do? What is like? Obviously, like, is he good enough for you, right? I was like, his name is. We'll call him Bob. His name is Bob.
Bob.
So we'll call him Bob. His name is Bob, and he's a personal trainer at this and this gym. I was like, okay. And she's like, no. I'm like, what? She's like, I know exactly who you're talking about because her fiance was a personal trainer at that said gym. And she's like, this guy is a raging alcoholic. He would tap anything and everything that had a vagina. So I'm like, she's like, no, he's not good. She's like, I guarantee it's the same guy. She's like, show me the picture. She's like, yeah. She's like, you're not doing it. I'm like, okay. So, and then he said to me, he's like, hey, we should go out. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling this is like a friendship level. I'm not going to be like, you're actually apparently a piece of shit. So we're not going to go out. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever, blah, blah. And then I think a week later, he texts me. He's like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know what I was doing. Probably eating ice cream out of a tube and taking selfies. I'm like, I should put this on Hinge. I don't put this on Hinge. And then I was like, oh, whatever. And he's like, hey, how about I come over and bring a bottle of wine? I just sleep over. And I was like, absolutely fucking not. I was like, yeah, if I meet you for the first time, it's going to be like go for coffee or go for a walk or go for a drink or whatever.
Public place, safe place.
A place where I don't die.
But the problem is, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt your story here, is that there are actually girls that will let you do that.
You know.
But she's not one of them.
She's not one of them.
As in let you come over?
Yes.
With a bottle of wine, spend the night.
With a bottle of wine.
And spend the night.
Yeah.
And spend the night.
Yeah,
It's not the first time he's used that line. So it must have worked at some point.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah,
exactly. But anyways, go on.
And then I was like, no. And then it was just like, hey, let's get together. Hey, and I would just deflect. Delete the guy. Anyway, so fast forward to 2 weeks ago, whenever the Flames, sorry.
Oh. Whoa.
You said no swearing.
You said the F word.
Yeah.
So when the Oilers had Game 6 in Edmonton, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, how are you doing? Good, thanks. How are you? He's like, hey, how about I take you away for a romantic weekend in Edmonton? He's like, we'll go see the Oilers play for Game 6 and we can spend the night. And I was like, no. I was like, that's how murder documentaries are made on Netflix.
Yep.
And I told my girlfriend, I was like, yeah, I'd go for this probably fucking kick-ass weekend, everything paid for, whatever, but I'm not there. Anyways, and I was like, and then my body be scattered across fucking Red Deer.
No, not
Calgary.
Red Deer. You do not bury bodies in Red Deer.
No, being the outskirts of
So
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Calgary,
Carstairs.
Carstairs. That's what's gonna Carstairs because no one expects Carstairs.
You know what? To be
No,
honest,
that's
he
Carstairs.
probably, after spending that much money on a ticket to take you to the game, at that point at the Rogers,
But someone you've never met. I could have been like you said.
You've literally never met him.
I've never met him. You could have seen my pictures. You could have. Okay, yeah, you think I'm pretty, whatever, or you think I have whatever. Oh, you're so pretty. You're so nice. You have a kid. I'm like, do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. She's like, oh, we've shared similar backgrounds because his mom had cancer. And it was a very weird how we connected in that terms. And he lost his dad. I lost my dad. It was just a very.
you know what? You went your gut. You went with your gut.
And I was just like, but
feels odd.
like how desperate, like.
Edmonton has a ratio of more than 3 men to 1 woman.
Yeah, that's why you go up to Edmonton, man. That's
Here's
why
the
we
thing.
go
It's like,
join the
we
Oilers.
went on a date. We went on date 1. He's like, oh, I'm so attracted to you. You're awesome. And I'm like, I could chop you up and put you in a fucking garden myself. Like, what the actual fuck?
You
Wow.
need to know my lines, and I could teach you everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go to
I
Cheryl.
can also give
Cheryl,
you like
what's
the
lines?
RCR.
What's the line, Cheryl?
The hashtag.
No,
How's my
how
new
do you tell people in your first date that you can bury bodies?
I've already looked up your criminal record.
Yeah.
But that's what also deterred me. I'm like, if
I also know how to bury bodies. I'm very good at dissecting bodies. My background is in histology and pathology. Is that?
Yeah, don't mess with healthcare
You have a murder
workers.
kit in your trunk?
I do
What do
have
you
a murder
call
kit in my
it? Yeah.
trunk, but do you like your organs? Because the best organ donation.
do you like inside of you, outside of you?
Mind you, her ex is a criminal lawyer.
Scattered across car
So
stairs.
she's probably seen some stories.
Do you feel unsafe when you go on dates? Like,
No,
no,
not at
Okay.
all. There's only been one date I actually felt unsafe with, but other than that, I never put myself in that situation again. I will never do that. Like I literally, I don't online date personally anymore. I put myself in situations where I'm in public spaces. I'm meeting people organically.
Mhm.
I feel their vibe because at the end of the day, I'm all about energy. I like to feel their vibe. You can sense good vibes, negative vibes off of people, and your gut is your best reaction.
Agree.
And so at the end of the day, guy, girl, whatever, if my gut says this is not a safe place, I'm not going to put myself in an unsafe place. I will call a girlfriend. All of my girlfriends know when I'm out on a date or wherever I'm at because I'm a single mom. And God forbid something happens. Everyone knows I have a tribe. When I mean a tribe, I have a trifecta. I have 3 people in my neighborhood who are my closest friends, next to my roommate or my neighbor who lives downstairs, my next door neighbor, and my really good friend Jay Fox from 1048 Productions. And at the end of the day, all those people know where I am, who I'm with, and they will never ever let me go.
There you go.
Unaccounted for.
So have you know?
Have it. You don't need 5 friends or 50 friends. You just need 3 good friends.
I text my sister. She's like,
So dating threesomes is what you're saying.
I didn't say date threesomes.
No, you are the representative. Like we're gonna do.
I'm not dating on threesomes.
No.
I said
But you got backup. No, but you have backup.
I have a backup to my
You have
backup plan.
Exactly.
So if this goes sideways, I
Yeah.
know I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriend
It's be
Maria.
safe.
I'm going to
It's
go hang out with my
safety.
other girl Sandra,
Safety.
and I'll
There's
go
safety
home
in
by
numbers.
myself.
Right?
Do you have a backup?
Me?
When you date?
Don't
Don't even have to think
Look at
about
him.
it. I get
Look at
it,
him.
but you don't. But
Hey,
again, difference between men and women dating, right?
Yes.
We have different
exactly.
experiences on the apps and different
Yeah.
experiences
But-
in how you prepare to show up to meet a stranger.
Yes.
Right. But then
Exactly.
in my case, I make sure it's a public place. Like it's not like some dark
Okay.
alley. It's
Yeah.
like, got to make everything as comfortable as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to see me
Well,
in a
how
dark
do you
alley.
feel about, like, as a guy, would you invite a girl over as a second date for dinner and make her dinner? I mean, this is COVID times. Would you do that?
Depending how the first date went.
Hmm.
Like if the connection was there, if the vibe was there, yeah.
I would go on the second date if the vibes
Yeah,
are there. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's and this is why I'm saying that first date is 15 minutes, so you can evaluate this stuff, right? Because if you meet them on apps, you can be catfished.
Yeah.
Or you guys just don't vibe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a 15-minute interview, and it's like, hey, blah blah blah, 3 teas. If I'm spending 3 teas with you or 3 tequilas with you, then hey, you know what? We're vibing. We're good, right? But alcohol makes us do stupid things too. So I gotta say that, right?
You speak from a lot of experience.
What's up? Well, I'm a healthcare professional. I self-medicate. So self-medicate.
So your
You gotta know your dose.
Your first date is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Are there other dating kind of rules that you have, like things that you use to date?
Dating rules. It's the 30, 60, 90 now.
Okay.
Okay. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Okay.
And after you've met somebody, then you're like, okay, 30 days. 30 days is the first 30 days, it's like the honeymoon phase, right? Like, oh, great, whenever we connected, we've got this vibe, blah, 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 right? And then, when you say your non-negotiables, they're like, oh yeah, you're like, yeah, I wanted that, oh yeah.
That's me. Tick, tick, tick.
I want, you tell them right off the front, I want an adventure partner. I want to do these things, right? So that's why you post things of, paddle boarding or camping or skiing, snowboarding, whatever, right? And so they match, right? And for first 30 days, they're like, okay, they're great. And then, what I've learned is after 30 days, then they want you to commit right there.
6
Right?
weeks or
30 days, commit. And you're like, no, this is,
What does
we've
commit
agreed.
mean?
Commit?
As in, like, stop
Exclusivity.
dating other people?
Like
Exclusivity.
exclusivity.
Oh,
Not-
exclusivity
it's
is sort of
usually
like
6
6
Yeah.
weeks.
And some of them want you to actually, move in with them,
Okay.
right?
no 6 weeks.
And I was like, you know what?
6 weeks
30
is for
days? No.
Did you say move in with you?
Okay.
Move in with them
After a month?
after a month.
6 weeks.
And I was like, okay, wait, no. So that's my first side. I'm like, okay, done. This relationship's over, right?
Mhm.
Because I had these non-negotiables,
Mhm.
and I'm finished with this,
Mhm.
right? And unfortunately, it hurts people and it breaks hearts. I don't know, it hurts people, right? Because they have their agenda, they have their list,
Mhm.
and us as guys, have our list
Mhm.
of non-negotiables. And then there's a 60-day relationship, right? So it's like 60 days. Great. Okay. Well, okay. All right. Well, you know what? If there's 60 days, I'm like, okay, you know what? All right, cool. You want me to commit to you? Fine. I'll commit to you, right? Meaning we'll go exclusive, right? And the 60 days, it's great, everything. And then, you know, and then they're introduced to me as our kids, right? And I'm like, yeah, my rule is I don't want to meet your kids until 6 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want to meet your kids until 6 months out. That's just, I think that's a general rule.
It is a general
in
rule.
post divorce things. So, in 60 days, they start introducing me. If you introduce me to your kids within those first 60 days, I'm out of there. I'm done. Right?
What does it tell you when they want to do that? Like, what makes you out of there?
What does it tell me?
Yeah.
It tells me that they don't value their kid enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Moving
That
too fast.
they are gonna, they're gonna bring someone into their lives
too fast
in the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I don't care if there's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, or 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 16-year-old. Right? I don't care. And then there's the 90-day ones.
Mhm.
Right? So yeah, we're very serious. We're talking about this stuff, and then again, then it's just like they try to lock and load you in. Right? They're trying to lock and load that high value person that they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's when I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to step away from meeting people on these apps because I have no problem meeting people organically, right? And, I've gone on these speed dating things just for the fun of it, right? Just to, let's see how this process works. Because, and then, and I just want to see how the process works. But there is no problem with me going to special events and meeting high value people.
Mhm.
And I have to say high value people, one of the things that with high value people is they invest in attending events, right? Then and then you have something more common to talk about.
Mhm.
It's not just drinking, it's not this all this stuff. So that's where that's kind of my guidelines for dating. I don't know, do you guys agree or disagree with
No,
that?
absolutely, and it's fantastic hearing it from another, like, a man's
Yeah,
perspective. Because
absolutely.
I'm glad to hear
like
it.
for
Yeah.
me, like, I'd love to hear like Sergio's perspective on like being on like online dates or whatever. Like, what has been your experience?
To be honest, like I was only on it a couple months and I gave up. I was like, I don't like this. It didn't seem natural. It didn't seem organic, and like
What about it didn't you like?
the whole process, like just from a picture and just like kind of reading what they were about. You can't really get to know a person from a paragraph.
That's
No.
true.
Like you got to meet them in person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like in the same boat as Jason, where it's like I'd rather meet people in real life than on the apps.
Well, and that was my reason of taking myself off the apps complicitly, because I'm like, I meet so many people. So my job is very social. And for a lot of men, they get jealous because I'm a medical rep and I'm out and about and I meet people all day long. I'm a very social butterfly. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to meet someone. Right? No different than you, no different than Alicia. I'm a social creature. I'd rather meet someone in their own environment, get to know them, be in my most feminine state, be vulnerable, be myself, and let them get to know me. And I want to know them. At the end of the day, guys have vulnerabilities. They want to be respected, they want to be treated like kings. And I want to be able to be in that position where I don't have to be the masculine. I don't want to bring that shit to the table. I want to be my feminine side, put you in a place where you feel safe, secure. You could like be vulnerable with me, and I could be vulnerable with you. But at the end of the day, it's a 50-50. If I don't feel safe where I'm at, as like with a man or with I'm out. I'll be kind about it. I'm all about
Absolutely, yeah.
closure. That's maturity that took me to be that. And not about ghosting. I'll say like, hey, you had a good run. You're not my forever home. I'm out. And I say that. And either you want to remedy it or you don't, but not a lot of people have the maturity to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I have another question. Here we go. So, when I did all the things in dating, and finding, my ideal person that I wanted to raise a family with, and as guys, we choose those things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like, hey, you know what? She's good looking. We're gonna make good looking kids together. Females do the same thing, right? She's got a smart, she's very intelligent. Great. She can take care of herself. Great. All that fun stuff. And back then, kisses were very important to me, right? And nowadays, I'm finding that a kiss is only a kiss, and it just doesn't mean what it used to mean back, like when what was this back in the 20 years ago, I have to say, right? It's like you people give out kisses left and right these days.
Blame
It's ridiculous.
They don't feel as
Pornhub, okay?
special.
What's that?
Blame Pornhub.
Pornhub? Is it? Really? They just throw them out like it's nothing.
Huh.
Right? And then and so I've had to adjust to that. Right? I've had to adjust to that. And maybe it's because part of my healing is like, you know what? My heart's been broken before.
Yeah.
Right? And now I have to put up this little shield. Say, hey, you know what? That kiss doesn't mean anything. Right? And yeah, we hung out, we did, good stuff. And, you're drunk now and we kiss. Right? And it's like, shit, So, and this is where you start spending more time with them, and you have to figure out, hey, you know what? Let's make sure if that kiss was actually real and if you can actually do it sober. Right? And that will tell me that there is a connection. But I don't give kiss any more meanings. That's my personal experience. Like, we joke around, and I think we joked around last time, you put on your first date, right? Put on your first date. What does that mean to people today? It doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40 years old, 50, 60, 75. Like, you know what? Like you said, Pornhub, right? Or, all these things. So that people put these fantasies in people's heads, but we have to update. We have to update our thoughts.
Inappropriate expectations of relationships.
Yeah.
So I need to set the ground rules when I start dating again. What are my expectations? What are my ground rules? What are my boundaries? What are my expectations?
Set them for yourself or set them for the other person?
For both of us.
Okay.
I want to hear what they have to bring to the table. Yeah. And I don't want to overstep my boundaries with them because I want to respect them as well. Mm-hmm. So I want to listen and read the room, read the audience first, and then also articulate what I have as boundaries and issues as well. And that's just being mature, right? Like, I mean, that's the difference of us being in our 40s or mid 40s versus being in our 20s, right? Yeah. 20s is like, oh yeah, I'm upset today. I'm going to go bar star tomorrow and then I'll be fine. Yeah. We don't do that now. We actually have hurt feeling reports that we might want to fill out tomorrow, right? But we don't. We ground ourselves with our girlfriends. We like rant and rave to them, and then we're like, oh, we're swearing off of men. And then, that weekend comes around. I was like,
you continue that cycle.
I did it again.
But I think to your point, like physicality, definitely, especially in your 40s as well. You've lived a long time. You've been physical with people. It might not feel as special as it did in your 20s.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if I'm sort of taking this somewhere else, but I think like experiencing somebody intimately, and that could be just kissing, is an important part of dating early on if you feel a mutual attraction.
Yeah.
Like, so when I talk about rules, there are, again, lots of when I'm chatting with guys and I'm getting their experience, because I feel like dating is kind of like anthropologic. Like with every date I go on, I learn more about myself. I learn more about somebody else, about the guy's experience dating, and it's interesting to me. So, what I hear from guys is, she has the 5-date rule where she won't sleep with a guy until 5 dates, or she doesn't kiss on the first date, or she doesn't X, Y, and Z. And so, and your rules are your rules and they're important to you and you have them for a reason, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I think that experiencing somebody emotionally, intellectually, physically is important too. And I think creating that space where
For
you
sure.
can both feel safe, where you can do that, not to keel it up, but actually like consensually, where this is an overt decision being made by two people to see, is there chemistry here too? Because if there's not, we're nothing more than friends.
Yep.
And so I think like the
Absolutely.
rules, I feel like having guidelines for sure, or things that you've learned to help inform you so that you can honor yourself, that's really important. But rules take away the nuance of dating, where every person is a new experience, and that's subjective. So one of the questions I ask myself after a date is like, how did I feel with that person? Did I feel seen? Did I feel heard? Did I feel understood? Did I feel like a good version of myself? Did I like myself with that person? That gives me more information around how much more do I want to give this person? How much do I want from them?
And absolutely, Shauna, that is a great point. Like, how did I feel after that date?
Yeah.
And call everything out. It's like, was I seen? Was I heard? Was he heard?
And that's your intuition. Because I think oftentimes you get on this train of like, just habit, like just kissing people for kissing people, or having the experience, or just date after date after date.
And we don't ever
stop.
Be vulnerable with me.
Yeah.
Like I want to see them level down and say, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. I want to share my darkest experience. And we can like sit there and hear each other. I just want to hear. I want to use my 2 ears, not my mouth. Just really want to hear you. And it's beautiful when I get to hear men talk about their past, talk about their history, talk about what they've been through, because they come from places of experience, trauma, but also from emotion. And men are very dismissed when it comes to emotions.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Men are in
I'm
pain.
laughing because
We're not allowed to share emotions.
No,
Do you
and
guys
that
feel
is,
like
yeah.
you
We're
guys
not
feel
allowed to be
so women
vulnerable.
easily, or do you guys feel like, oh, if I open up, they're gonna think?
not at first, no.
And for example, like I had a lovely friend of mine who just shared that he was going through a situation where, you know, his kids didn't want him around for graduation. He was hurt. He was feeling very vulnerable. And I've said, I hear you. I'm listening. I'm just here to listen. And if I can find a way to mediate the situation, I will. But it's not about what I bring to the table. It's what I'm hearing from you. You just need a soundboard. And women, as we are fixers.
Yeah.
We forget that we need to be soundboards. And men need soundboards. 99% of the time, men are very, very articulate. They're very, very on top of their game. But they want a soundboard. So when do we dial back and say, hey, I've got 2 ears, I got one mouth. What am I using today?
And I think that's what I was saying. Like, again, modern dating.
Absolutely.
Men are in pain. Just like you and I could go for drinks after this, having just met.
Yeah.
And we could share our life stories and we would bond like crazy. And women can do that. There's a social norm where women can get together and like we can really know each other and we can get to it really fast.
Yeah.
I don't, my sense from men is that you don't have the same experience, that you can't go deep fast, either with a woman or even with your guy friends sometimes. And there's exceptions to the rule for sure.
There's exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Yes,
So you might have that.
Yes.
But most men say, you know, the person who knew me was my partner, and now I don't have a partner. So there's nowhere for that to go. Yeah. Whereas I have this whole support system of besties that know me and that I can sort of talk to all the time. Yeah. So men are in pain. And I think there's this sort of social construct that you don't have the same outlets as we do. And so it's really important to explore that too when you're dating. Absolutely. To kind of understand where somebody is.
And this is why from a men's mental health perspective.
Yes.
If you can't express yourself, you bottle it up and you don't talk. And, you know, we have a high rate of suicide of men that are going through this, right? Because they have always been taught not to show feeling, not to be vulnerable. And, you know, ever since, you know, we were in school, that's the way that we've been taught, with the curriculum, you got cowboys don't cry. Cowboys don't cry, right?
Yeah.
So that's cry. Ingrained in our head from when we're born. Right. So, you know, that's we're getting a little deeper here, you know, but you know, I love this conversation, and you know what, this is modern dating stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Actually, I want to add on to that, Jason.
Yeah, go ahead.
Part of that I found was like going through my divorce, like just having a therapist to talk to was just what made the biggest difference for my healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really didn't have like my close friends are all back in Mexico. Like I can talk to them whenever, but it's like it's different talking in person. And so I found having a therapist was like the one that made the biggest difference.
Yeah.
For sure. You get the help, right?
Yeah.
But even talking like this, having the conversation, I think this is this is talk therapy as well.
There's a catharsis.
Right?
For
Someone's
sure.
listening. Someone else is. You guys are listening.
Yeah.
Right. And that is very positive for everybody, especially men, right? So yeah, like to our men that have like just couldn't make it through, and I've been hearing this over and over again because for some reason they haven't been vulnerable, and they haven't been able to share. They haven't found the therapy even, right? The therapy that they go to the bottle. They go to drugs.
It's
they go
the
to anything.
avoidance then,
Exactly.
right?
To cover the pain.
Yeah. I think like dating, if you're dating post-divorce and you haven't experienced some kind of therapy, you need to examine that, I would say. I'm not going to paint it with a wide brush, but you might be dating for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
it's avoidance. It's, you're looking for distraction from the actual work. Yeah. So that's really important too. Like when I date, to talk to people about their experiences with, again, I don't care what your divorce story is. Everybody feels the need to share that on the first date and get it out in the open of how they failed or how their partner failed them. And, it's kind of all the same to some degree. We all chose to walk away from relationships. We've all screwed them up. That's okay. That's actually a human experience. I'm way more interested in what have you learned about yourself since, and how are you showing up differently now? Like, what has life taught you? That's the conversation I want to have.
100%.
And so if somebody comes out and says, oh, like it was all her fault kind of thing. Like that's a big, I hate the term red flag, but it's something that for me piques my interest to be like, okay, take note of that. Cause I'm not and that's modern dating as well. Cause there are the walking wounded out there who are also dating, and you kind of have to sift through some of that, regardless of whether you meet them online or organically. That's happening everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Our time's almost up. So I'm going to close with that thought. I'd love to continue on with the conversation, at a different time, because this is very important for all of us, right? Both men and women, they're in there. And, I want to thank our sponsors, CAX Bar and Podcast. We're here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And, I'd love to have you guys back on again. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.